Everywhere she went, people treated her like a walking miracle. Strangers would stop her just to say how brave she was for grocery shopping alone. A woman once cried after seeing her get into an accessible taxi. Naomi smiled, said thank you, and went home exhausted, not physically, emotionally, because being seen as inspiring isn't always a compliment. Sometimes it means people don't really see you. They see what they need to see. She never asked to be the person who made others feel grateful for their own lives. She never auditioned to be someone's daily reminder that things could be worse. She just wanted to be a designer, a reader, a friend, a whole person. So she pulled away, deleted the blog, turned down every speaking request, went quiet. Not because she gave up, but because she was done being everyone's inspiration, or so she thought. Because one day there was a knock, and on the other side of the door was someone who didn't want her to be a symbol. He just needed someone to understand, and Naomi would realize that maybe inspiration isn't about being admired from afar. Maybe it's about showing up when someone needs you close. Naomi Chen was born in San Diego to first generation Chinese American parents. She was diagnosed with osteogenesis imperfecta before her first birthday. Her parents were told she may never walk, she'll need special care, she'll break easily. But what Naomi's parents heard was something different. She'll need to be stronger than most. So that's how they raised her, not fragile, not fearful, but focused, resilient, quietly tough. Every time she fractured a bone, arm, rib, hip, her mother wrapped it in care and firm resolve. "We keep going," she'd say, placing gentle hands on Naomi's shoulders. "We keep going." Naomi never liked pity. She learned to smile through the ache, to mask her pain with politeness, to pretend she wasn't tired, just grateful. In school, she was the smart girl in the wheelchair, a little too fast in math, a little too slow in gym. She got used to the way people treated her like a delicate guest in her own body. But Naomi was sharp, funny, observant, and from a young age she realized if people were going to stare anyway, she might as well give them something worth watching. She leaned into her creativity, learned digital design, built blogs from scratch at 15. And when college came, she left home with a scholarship, a service dog, and an oversized sense of independence. At university, something unexpected happened. Her wheelchair didn't make her invisible, it made her visible. People started following her Instagram, sharing her posts, asking her to speak in classes and conferences. Her post titled, "Designing with one hand on the wheelchair and the other on a mouse," went viral. Then came the TEDx talk, then the podcast interviews, then the inbox filled with strangers thanking her for her courage. And for a while it felt good, empowering even. She was making change, sparking conversations, opening eyes. But slowly something shifted. People weren't listening to her work, they were clinging to her story. Every conversation seemed to end with, "You're so inspiring." Or worse, "After hearing you speak, I stopped complaining about my problems." Naomi began to feel like a walk-in mirror for other people's guilt, a way for them to feel better about their own lives without ever asking what hers was like. And the truth? Naomi was tired, not of the speaking, not of the chair, but of being seen only as someone else's lesson in perspective. So she stopped. She shut down the blog, declined the panel invites, unpublished her book proposal, and in the quiet that followed, she wondered if anyone would still care when she wasn't uplifting. when she was just Naomi, a woman trying to live fully without being performed for others. But just when she thought her words had been forgotten, someone found them. Folded, highlighted, clutched in the hand of a kid who wasn't looking for a hero. He was looking for truth. It was just after 3 p.m. on a Thursday, gray skies, the kind of afternoon where everything feels too quiet. Naomi was making tea, no music, no emails, just a rare stillness she'd come to depend on. Then a knock. Not a delivery, not the neighbors. A soft, hesitant knock that didn't belong to someone confident. She opened the door slowly, and standing there, hood up, face damp from the rain, was a teenage boy, maybe 15, maybe younger. He held out a wrinkled paper, eyes flickering between her face and the floor. "Are you Naomi Chen?" Naomi hesitated. "Yes?" "I'm sorry, this is weird. I'm Jordan. I got this from my therapist." He held up the paper. It was a printout of her old blog post. "When the world treats your body like a problem." It had her photo at the top, one she barely remembered taking. Jordan's hands shook slightly. I think I have what you have. My spine's twisted and my legs." He trailed off. Then, almost in a whisper, "I hate it. I hate being like this. But when I read what you wrote, it felt like someone finally said what I was thinking." Naomi blinked. She'd written that post 3 years ago, on a night she couldn't sleep after overhearing a date cancel because of her situation. She never thought anyone still read it. She invited Jordan in, offered tea. He said yes, but didn't drink it. He told her everything, halting at first, then rushing forward. How kids at school called him names when teachers weren't looking. How PE class was a weekly humiliation. How he avoided mirrors and photos and sometimes just wanted to disappear. Naomi listened, not as a speaker, not as a symbol, as a human being who knew. And when he finally asked, "Does it ever get better?" she didn't lie. She said, "Some days, yes. Some days you get tired of pretending you're not tired. But the thing is, every time someone else shows up anyway, even just to say, 'I get it,' it gets a little less heavy." Jordan looked down, then pulled out a notebook from his backpack, pages filled with drawings, designs, wheelchairs with flame decals, crutches with built-in speakers, mobility gear that looked like something out of a comic book. "I want to design stuff like this someday," he mumbled, "but I feel dumb for even thinking about it." Naomi smiled, something inside her flickering back to life. "You're not dumb," she said. "You're already doing it." That night, after Jordan left, Naomi sat in front of her laptop for the first time in months. The screen stared back, blank. The cursor blinked like a quiet invitation. Still here, still waiting. She didn't open Instagram, didn't draft a new blog post. She just opened a blank document and wrote one line. "Some of us don't need saving, we just need reminding we're not alone." She saved the file, closed it, but something had shifted. It wasn't the words Jordan said, it was the way he looked at her, not with admiration, but with relief. Like finding someone else who spoke a language you didn't know you'd been trying to speak your whole life. Over the next few weeks, they kept in touch. Texts at first, then longer chats. Jordan sent her sketches from his notebook, more designs, more wild ideas. She gave feedback gently, encouraged him to submit them to contests, even if he thought they were stupid. And little by little, Naomi started writing again, not for applause, not to inspire, to document, to create a bridge between what she'd lived and what someone else might still be going through. She started a private newsletter, just 23 subscribers at first. No ads, no hashtags, just honest words sent out into the quiet corners of the internet. One email was titled, "When You're Not Sure If You Matter Anymore." Another, "What I'd Say to My 16-Year-Old Self in the Nurse's Office." People started replying, not with likes, with stories. One person wrote, "I've had MS for 10 years. This is the first thing I've read that didn't make me feel like a cautionary tale." Another said, "My daughter has spina bifida. I read your email to her out loud. She cried, then she smiled." Naomi wasn't going viral. She was going deeper. Meanwhile, Jordan submitted his first design to a youth innovation challenge and got selected. The project? A mobility aid with modular parts that adapt as a teen grows. He called Naomi the day he found out. She answered on speaker. He was crying. "You told me I wasn't broken. Now they're calling me a designer." Naomi didn't say anything at first, just listened, smiled, and whispered, "You are." For a while, Naomi stayed in the shadows, writing her newsletter, mentoring Jordan, keeping her circle small. She liked it that way. No applause, no pressure, just real conversations with real people who got it. But even in the quiet, discomfort finds its way in. One day, Naomi posted a thread on a private forum for disabled creatives. It was raw, honest, about how exhausting it is to be praised for simply existing, how it feels to be reduced to hashtags and photo ops. Someone screenshotted it, posted it out of context, and within hours, strangers were attacking her for being ungrateful, angry, making everything about disability. Some even said she was ruining the image of positive representation. Naomi sat at her desk, staring at the comments, numb. She had spoken her truth, and once again, the world wanted her edited. She considered pulling everything down again, shutting off, retreating. But something stopped her. It wasn't a surge of bravery. It wasn't anger. It was Jordan. He'd texted her just hours earlier. "Got accepted into that design incubator. Wouldn't have applied if you hadn't pushed me." "Thank you." Naomi looked at his message, then looked back at the screen, and replied to one of the cruelest comments with a single sentence. "I'm not here to be your inspiration. I'm here to be real." Then she logged off and opened her newsletter draft. The next day, she sent it out to her list. Subject line, "When you say too much for their comfort, but not enough for your own." She wrote about being tired, about being hopeful anyway, about showing up for one person even when the world doesn't clap. The replies poured in. "I've been in a chair for 12 years, and this is the first time I've seen my exact thoughts in someone else's voice. My daughter asked if you'd ever mentor her too. I didn't know how much I needed this until I read it." A month later, Naomi was invited to a small closed-door panel, not a corporate event, not a performance, a circle of teens with disabilities, chairs in a circle, no stage, no microphones, just real stories. When it was Naomi's turn to speak, she looked at them and said, "I used to think strength meant smiling through it all. Now I know it means telling the truth even when no one claps." She didn't prepare a speech. She didn't have bullet points. She just told them what she'd once told Jordan. "You're not broken. You're not here to make anyone else feel better. You're here to be you, and that is more than enough." Afterward, a girl in the back came up to her, maybe 13, in leg braces. She handed Naomi a folded note and said, I didn't know I could feel proud of my body until you said you were tired of pretending. Naomi unfolded the note later that night. It said simply, "Thank you for not being perfect." And in that moment, Naomi knew. This was the triumph she'd never been offered on stage, to be fully human, fully seen, fully free. Naomi still doesn't post much. She's not back on stages. She still turns down interviews that want her to smile on cue and say something powerful. But when she writes now, she knows exactly who she's writing for. Not for headlines, not for claps, but for the kids scrolling at 2 a.m., wondering if anyone else gets what it means to live in a body that gets stared at or ignored. She once thought quitting meant she was weak, that by stepping away she was letting people down. But what she's learned is that stepping back isn't the same as giving up. Sometimes it's where the real voice gets built. In silence, in recovery, in listening, not performing. Jordan still writes to her. He's taller now, smarter, more sure of himself. He calls her Naomi, never Ms. Chen, never mentor, just Naomi, like equals, like friends. And that's all she ever wanted. To be seen as whole, not flawless, not fearless, just real. Looking back, Naomi doesn't regret the years she spent inspiring people. She just wishes someone had asked her what she needed in return. Now she asks that question often, to herself, to others. Because real connection doesn't come from being admired, it comes from being understood. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is show up for one person when they need you the most. Even if your voice is tired, even if your hands are shaken, even if you thought you were done, because you're not. You're just beginning again with deeper roots. If you've ever felt like your story was only valuable when it made others feel better, you're not alone. If you've stepped back to protect your peace, if you've been tired of being everyone's inspiration, but never anyone's priority, you deserve to be seen, not for what you overcome, but for who you are. Drop a comment below. What do you wish people would stop assuming about you? Or simply, who was your Naomi, the person who showed up when you didn't think anyone would? And if this story spoke to you, share it. There's someone quietly scrolling right now, waiting for a sign that their voice still matters, even if it's quiet. Subscribe to Able in Every Way, where we tell the stories no one else does, not to inspire, but to understand, to witness, to remember. You are not here to be anyone's lesson. You're here to live, to speak, to belong. Fully, fiercely, unapologetically.